Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. Hump day, hump day, hump day. So, because I did a different type of perspective on Monday, today is actually Self-Care Wednesday and Self-Love Lesson number 26. And I actually went and pulled some old notes from an old perspective just for this love lesson. So anyways, before we get started, we got the self-care ritual decks. Since it is, my brain, since it is Self-Care Wednesday, I've got the self-care ritual deck, and, this is where I just ask people to kind of keep an open mind, because there might be things in here that will just be like, yeah, no. Or you might turn your nose up to it, or you might scoff at it, and I've done these things and thought, that's dumb. But then when I tried it, it turns out it was actually pretty beneficial for my life. So, yeah, sorry. I'll look out for a cat. But anyways, ooh, there's one. So, let's just, sorry, my earring is being all silly. So, let's just see what happens, okay? So, like I said, just keep an open mind. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. But, even if it doesn't resonate with you, just give it a shot, right? Because you never know. All right, whatever card pops out next, that's where we'll start the rest of them. So, one last shuffle. I'm not sure who is on. Oh, it's baby sibling. Good morning, baby sibling. I was just going to say I'm not sure who's on, but welcome. Happy hump day! Hump day, hump day, hump day, hump day, hump day. I hear her. I hear a cat, but I do not see her yet. So you may or may not get an appearance from one. We'll see. All right. Well, nothing else wants to pop out, so we'll just start from the top. All right. First two that came out. Number one, dance. Dance like nobody's watching. Like, seriously. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Seriously, though. Dance like no one's watching. I mean, who cares? Who cares, right? I mean, moving the body is so good. And I mean, think about how you feel, right? Maybe you go out and, have fun with your friends or whatever, and you're like, yeah. And, people might make fun of you, how you dance. I know people probably make fun of me the way I dance. But I'm at this point in my life where it's like, I just don't care. All right? Everyone's out there doing their own crazy moves. And it's like, instead of looking at people going, oh, seriously, what are they doing? Look at them and say, wow, you know what? That person doesn't care. They're just enjoying themselves. And that's all that matters, is that they're enjoying themselves. All right? So, dance. Number two, take a bath. Take a bath. I wish I had a nice tub where I can actually sink into it, okay? Because, I'm tall. I mean, I'm not tall, but when it comes to bathtubs, I'm tall. And so, like, my knees are always popping out of the water, or my toes or something. There's always something that doesn't get covered, right? And so, but you know what? Even then, take a bath, take a shower, let the world just wash off of you, relax, enjoy. I know in California we're having a little bit of a drought, so if you have like a jacuzzi or a swimming pool or an ocean nearby, dunk yourself in it. All right? Or just for once, indulge yourself. I mean, I know we gotta watch water, but it's okay to indulge yourself from time to time, because sometimes we need that to feel that cleansing feeling. There she is. Did you hear her? Oh, it's the other one. Hi. Hi. Would you like to make an appearance? Sorry, excuse me one moment. Come here. Do you want to come here? Okay, I really want to show you this one. Come here, come on. This is Lily Mae. Lily Mae very rarely makes an appearance because she's a big chicken. Huh. See, look at everybody. Look at everybody. Oh, look how pretty she is. I know. So anyways, this is Lily Mae. And let's see. What's our next card, huh, Boo? Connect with your womb. All right. So even if you are a man, connect with your womb. You'll be like, how the hell am I going to connect with the womb? My womb. Be in touch with your feminine side. Get in touch with your feminine side. And for the women, get in touch with your masculine side. But it's interesting. this card. But yeah, you know what? I like it because it's so happy. It's got the moon. It's got the moon in there. The moon, the moon phases, and like waxing, waning, full. Hi. And oh, there she goes. I think she wants off. So, anyways, hi. I'm being. Ooh. Okay, sorry about that. Wardrobe malfunction. Thanks a lot, Lily Mae. Anyway, it's a good thing I decided to wear a bra today. But I know, just kidding. I always do. But connect with your womb, and I think what that means is just connect with your inner self, right? I mean, this is where life is created from. And like I said, if you're a man, connect with your inner whatever, your inner life cycle. You know, it takes two people to have a baby, right? But the point is, connect with your feminine side, connect with your masculine side, but get deep down into the creation of who you are, who you intend to be, who you want to be, who you may have just become, or this person. And don't be someone else. Grow into who you are. Grow into who you are meant to be, okay? And I actually think that what I just said is really going to go well with what we talk about today, because that is what do you call it? Our self-help lesson for today. So a sweet treat. I love how they kind of made her hair look like Princess Leia, whose hair always kind of looked like cinnamon buns. But have a sweet treat. I know a lot of people are like, but I'm on a diet. Diets are bad. Being healthy is good. Dieting is bad. It sets the wrong tone for health, in my personal opinion. And that's just my opinion. A lot of people swear by it, live by it, do it, maybe use certain techniques to maintain a certain weight, and that's fine. But what I'm talking about is that crash dieting, or dieting because you don't feel like you're enough, or dieting because you want to look a certain way. You know what? We are now in the 21st century. At what point do we stop having to live by society's rules when it comes to how we look? Love yourself as you are. If you lose weight, great. If you don't want to lose weight, that's fine too. Body positivity isn't just about loving your body. It's about loving your body at any size that you're at. And I say that because, as I've mentioned many times in the past, I hated myself when I was thin. I hated myself when I was heavier. But now I've learned to love myself because I've learned to love the person on the inside, which has shown outward and has helped me to learn to love the person on the outside. And that's helped significantly in my health journey, because you're not constantly turning to whatever your addiction might be. Mine is food, bad food, like comfort food. It's not even comfort food. It's called emotional eating. And I am literally a recovering emotional eater. So, oops, sorry. A lot of technical malfunctions today, aren't we? Having those. So, let's get to today's lesson. Lesson number 26. What parts of you are you ashamed of? What does your shadow self look like? And shadow self is what we're going to focus on today. So, I see little laughy things, laughing emojis from baby siblings. So I'm guessing you guys got a nice little look. I should have wore the teal bra today. I know. Then at least it would have been something spectacular to look at. But anyways, what parts of you are you ashamed of? What does your shadow self? Oh my God, cannot read today. Let me try this one more time. Lesson number 26 of 30. What parts of you are you ashamed of? What does your shadow self look like? The first thought that came to my mind this time, and I want everyone to ask themselves why. After you answer your question, why is that something you're ashamed of? What does your shadow self look like? And the notes that I looked up are going to explain the shadow self if you are not familiar with it. The first thing that came to my mind, and what parts of me am I ashamed of? I'm ashamed of how I used to view myself. I'm ashamed of how I didn't think I was enough. How I've always felt kind of like I'm not lovable. How when I gained my weight and became a plus size girl, before, I'm still there, but I am on a health journey because I'd like to live a long time, and I got a ticker to take care of. But I'm ashamed of the parts that shamed me, that hurt my psyche, that convinced me that I wasn't good enough. That's the part I'm ashamed of. But I know that also when we're ashamed of something, it can make us angry, it can make us sad. So even though I am ashamed of those parts, I forgive those parts of me, because that is what's going to help me move forward. That's what's going to help me move on from feeling these horrible feelings about myself. We have to forgive the parts of us that we don't like, because when we do that and we make peace with it, it can change your whole outlook. It can change your whole perspective. And that's the whole point, right? Is to change your outlook, to change your perspective from negative to positive. We're not going to be positive every day. I mean, let's be honest. But when we're in a constant state of negativity, finding our way back to positivity isn't always that easy. It can be very, very difficult. So when we set these foundations, when we build this house of self-love and we make it sturdy, brick by brick by brick, or whatever beautiful material you choose, okay, just brick shaped hearts, or I'm sorry, heart shaped bricks. I'm sorry, I did not get to bed till like 2 this morning, and so my alarm usually goes off about 6. I cheated, I slept till 7, but or 6:45, but yeah, so I'm just like, oh, and it's not because I didn't get that much sleep. It's because I woke up when I finally got out of bed. It's like I gotta rush. But you know what? Those are things in the past that would have made me feel like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't, I got to give them. It's like you get who you get today. And on most days, you're going to get who you get. If I don't do a show, it's because I'm just not mentally capable of just talking. And by that I mean coming up with something where I'm not repeating myself 5 billion times. So, for me, what parts of am I ashamed of? And again, just to repeat, I am ashamed of the parts of me that were ashamed of me. That negative part of me, that part of me that hurt people, that, being a hurt person, hurting people, right? Hurt people. But I realized that was coming from another place. That was coming from a place of things that happened to me that were out of my control. And so when I get to the root of it and I ask my why is I need to be the person I need to be for me. And I need to not be ashamed anymore. I need to know that I'm worthy. I need to know that I'm enough. I need to teach myself that and let it really soak in. I am enough. I am lovable. I am capable. I am worthy. And that's what I want for all of you. I want you to be able to look yourself in the mirror. I am lovable. I am capable. I am enough. I am worthy. And put it on repeat until you start to believe it. Put it on blast until you start to believe it, right? So, what does your shadow self look like? A year ago, my shadow self was struggling. And I mean struggling. My shadow self was so dark. And I ended up naming my shadow self my floof, my little floof. I am literally, I think, on my 4th notebook when it comes to like the 4th chapter of floof, right? And floof, turns out, is my inner child. And that's where my shadow self was struggling, was with my inner child. And so I looked up some notes to explain what the shadow self is, because there is a metaphysical term on shadow self. And then there is, which is basically the same thing. And I always thought it was more of a metaphysical thing. Turns out it's a very psychological thing. And the grandfather is basically Carl Jung. Now, he and Freud had different ideas about the shadow self. And Carl Jung went in a whole different direction, which I'm not sure if that's what led to them kind of becoming friendly rivals. I'm not even sure if friendly should fit in there, but Carl Jung was a protege of Freud, and he stepped out of the box more. He stepped out of the box in ways that I'm not sure a lot of therapists would do. I was very lucky that mine did, and if I would have paid closer attention to the books on her shelf, I probably would have seen that she's a Jungian, right? So he's such a fascinating human being. But let's see. So I got this from the internet, and I'm sorry, I don't know where I got it from. This is literally from last year in last December. But Carl Jung is I cannot read today. Oh my God. All right, let's try this again. Carl Jung is responsible for identifying the shadow in our personality. The shadow represents any traits in our personality that we don't like, so we repress them in our subconscious mind. Now, for me, mine, like I said, turned out to be my inner child, and I truly believe we all have that inner child. That, that one that's just saying like, God, I want to get out and have fun. And they're just screaming at the top of their lungs, let's go do something amazing, and I think a lot of times when we become adults, we forget that we have this inner child. And sometimes we're reminded when people make fun of us, it's like, oh my God, tame your inner child. And it's like, why? It's like, am I embarrassing you because I'm having fun? Because I'm not taking adulthood so seriously? I mean, yeah, we have responsibilities. We have jobs and bills we have to pay and all these wonderful things. Ugh, sarcasm. That, we are responsible for, but that doesn't mean that your inner child cannot come out and play. When you go to a baseball game or a hockey game or a football game or a soccer game, both footballs, basketball, any kind of sporting event, when you go to those and you're excited and you're having fun, think about that. That's your inner child. That's the you as a kid going, oh man, I remember this, like all these different things. And you're excited about it. You're going crazy about it. You cheer for your teams. The players may rotate in and out, but it's still your team. So the first thing to do, acknowledge the shadow, how to do the shadow work, and how to prepare. Apparently I did not prepare enough because my note for how to do shadow work is in my other notebook. So anyways, that being said, 5 ways to do Carl Jung's shadow work. Recurring themes and emotional triggers. Number 2, emotional reactions, highlighting our own insecurities. Number 3, identifying patterns. When you have identified the pattern, you can begin to heal them. Number 4, write it down, keep a shadow journal. Number 5, write a letter to yourself. And let's see, there's lots of reasons for shadow work, especially if you keep repeating patterns. This is a sign something needs to heal. And then the second part of it was write a positive advice letter to your future self. Give yourself permission to be forgiving. Remind yourself many have shadow selves. It's not meant to make us feel bad. It is meant to bring a healing, a compassionate, the note is meant to bring a healing, a compassionate note by confronting this side of ourselves we feel we need to hide away. All right, my writing is terrible. Shadow work isn't just about making us better people or stopping us from attacking those around us that remind us of our worst traits. It can help us heal our traumas, mental health issues, low self-esteem, etc. Now, I'm not saying it's going to cure your mental health issues, but it can help you with the tools to, when you have these moments, so you don't spiral into oblivion and then struggle to find your way back. So that's what the shadow work can do. So let's see. Carl Jung was once the heir apparent to Freud, but their beliefs were too different, and that inevitable professional fracture occurred. This led to what one called Jung's period of creative illness, a favorable observation. See, even when he didn't have it all, he figured it out. Excuse me. It's like my shadow self is saying, And, a lot of times I think when out of nowhere we have these problems, it's our subconscious saying, no. Because a lot of times when we have traumas, when we suffer from different types of things, that may cause our shadow self to really kind of question it. Excuse me, my God. To question itself. I think the problem there is You know what? I'm sorry. Hold on one moment. Older sibling, if you were listening, could you please bring me some tea? I would really, really appreciate it. I thank you. Hopefully you're still there. But you know, I need to clear whatever this is because the water's not working. But the shadow self, okay? I'm just gonna riff, all right? The one thing I found when looking into my shadow self was this. There was a lot that I thought I had healed, and I had not. I had not. There was a lot of trauma. Oh, sorry. Green tea, please. The green jasmine tea, please. So anyways, it was lemon ginger or green jasmine. So anyways, I'm sorry. Just let me take a moment here. I know I'm struggling because I had a very significant breakthrough in my own psyche last night, in my own personal life last night. And I did a lot of shadow work last night, and I've been on the edge of, you know, it's funny, just as a side note, I listen to music when I do a lot of different things, and I have different playlists. And last night, Edge of Glory by Lady Gaga came on, right? And now I get it, because I feel like my guides speak to me through music. And to be perfectly honest with you, it made sense, because when I said I was on the edge just now, I feel like I was on the edge of stepping in to what can be a beautiful existence. But I have struggled to move forward. I have struggled to accept that I deserve a beautiful life, that I deserve, you know, to find someone that feels I'm enough and that I'm worthy, to find someone that is enough for me and, you know, is worthy of my intentions. Because there are a lot of times when we make bad choices just because we don't want to be alone. And that's a shadow thing. That's a shadow thing. We might feel like, you know, depending on the traumas, that, you know, our worth is built into certain things. And that's something that I suffered from. I felt like my worth was built into what I could give a partner of mine, you know, whatever boyfriend I had at the time. And then when, you know, that newness wears off, you start to second guess yourself. Do they love me? Do they think highly of me? Am I enough for them? And what you're not realizing is you're not thinking about these questions for yourself. Am I in love? Are they enough for me? And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with a person if you end up breaking up with them and moving forward. Every relationship we are in, whether it's a, you know, romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, they're all learning lessons. They're all tools that we put into our little, you know, life belt, right? They're the tools that we carry through life. You know, what we like, what we don't like. And this is, to me, in my perspective and in my opinion, what the shadow work did for me. It talks about how, you know, we have traumas that might need to be healed. You know, I don't know why I close this. So lots of reasons for shadow work, especially if you keep repeating patterns. This is a sign that something needs to heal. It could be trauma. It could be anything. I mean, trauma covers a whole spectrum of things. All right. Some people might think, well, this happened to me when I was a kid, but it's not as bad as somebody else. If it is bothering you, it is hurting you, and it still affects you emotionally, it's a trauma. Now, I'm not trying to paint pity over everything. What I'm trying to do is bring these things to the surface so that you can heal it. Because when it comes to self-love, lesson number 26 is going to be one of the most important lessons you will take with you on your journey. One of the most important. What parts of you are you ashamed of? Wouldn't you like to wake up one morning and just say, wow, I'm not ashamed of that anymore? What does your shadow self look like? Is it healed? Is it, you know, a happy shadow self? Or is it one that's sitting in the corner, knees to the chest, with their head bent down and your arms wrapped around your legs? Because there's self-loathing happening. There's self-pity. None of those things are bad things. We all sit there and say, oh my God, get out of your pity party. Sometimes we need people to push us out of that. But that doesn't mean we're not allowed to feel bad for a moment. This is how we heal things. We have to feel it. You got to feel it to heal it. You got to go through it to grow through it. And yes, that can be extremely difficult. But number one, recurring themes and emotional triggers. Recurring themes and emotional triggers. Is there something somebody says that triggers you? I'll be honest with you, when someone tells me to calm down, it depends on how they say it. Sissy used to tell me, just calm down. A lot of times she would be stirring up the shit, and she'd be like, calm down. And it would annoy me. But when older sibling would say it, it'd be like, okay, she's right. I just need to take a breath. So it's not always just the words. Sometimes it's the tone in which it's being said, right? Because two people, same words, two different reactions. But the difference is, Sissy Joe and I had a lot of traumas to heal. Older sibling did too. But older sibling had worked through her trauma. She had worked through the things that hurt her in her life. She had worked through that shadow self. And I'm sure there's always going to be a part of our shadow self that we're going to need to work through. But wouldn't it be nice to just get to a place where all you have to do is really nurture it? So if your shadow self starts to get a little dark, you could just go and go like, you know what? Okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure out what we need to do and how to get better, how to feel it to heal it. But Sissy and I, we didn't get the help we needed when we were younger and when we were older. You know, we were, raised by the generation where, you know what, just suck it up, be strong. You got to do that. There's no shame in being strong, or, we're all going to have bad days, so just push it down or whatever. And it's not always about pushing things down. Sometimes it's about, oh, you are an angel. Here comes my tea. Thank you, older sibling. I'll just put it like there. Okay. Thank you so much. Now I'll go back downstairs and hear the rest of my show.
I'll listen for further orders.
Did you hear that? She's listening for further orders. See, we know who runs the house. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. Oh my God, that's so good. She is an amazing older sibling. I love tea. I love all kinds of tea, but when I have one of those, green tea really works. And the jasmine. And the reason I say jasmine, I'm going to step into the metaphysical box for a moment. Jasmine actually helps to cleanse the aura. Okay, cleanse the vibe. And basically what it's doing now is cleansing my shadow me. Because here's the thing. No matter how much I grow, no matter how much I heal, there's still things that I find are coming up. Okay, so I'm ready to talk about it now. Last week, I was talking about how I had a very unexpected answer to what was bothering me. I was really struggling. I was feeling lower and lower and lower. My shadow self was getting darker, 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 and growing very big. It was growing too big for me. And there are a lot of times where I'll just distract myself because, there's this subconscious part of us that knows what needs to be said, and it knows what we need to hear. But I think somehow in my mind I've figured that out, so I will literally distract myself for hours. And that's one of the reasons why I stayed up so late, because I knew the message I needed to tell myself, but I kept finding other things to do. Playing games, writing, surfing social media, all going down different rabbit holes instead of the one I needed to go down. But last week I did that, and I finally, after about 4 or 5 days of just ignoring what was sitting at the edge of my brain that needed to come out, I found that one of the things that I was struggling with my shadow self and actually moving forward, being on that edge, was that I know that when I choose to fully step into this person I am now, becoming that true butterfly, breaking out of that cocoon, right? Whatever metaphor you want to use for moving forward, crossing the finish line, if you will, that everything will start to fall into place. everything will start to be all the things, the unexpected blessings, right? The miracles that we're waiting for. And a lot of times people say, well, that's bullshit. And that's okay if you want to think that. But I know for me, my energy will hold me back. And that's really what it is. It's this vibe we put out. Whether we pray, whether we set intentions, whether we manifest, it's the vibe we put out. And the darker your shadow, the lower the vibe you're going to put out. So all these things that you want are just going to sit right here and wait for you. Think of it as being like at a drive-in theater, right? You're looking at a dark screen, waiting for the movie to start. But it takes power. And it takes somebody to turn on that power. And you are basically the projectionist of your own life. If you have higher powers, yes, they guide you, they lead you. But there's only so much they can do. They can't push you into a reality that you want if you're not willing to accept it. They can literally put it right in front of you. They can slap you upside the head with it. But if your vibe isn't matching what it is that you want, you're just going to keep drawing the negative stuff to you. And last week I realized that one of the things that kept me from moving forward is I was told a long time ago that when I fully align with who I'm supposed to be, I get my healing, in, I get my trauma squared away. So I have these beautiful tools for my dinged up mental health to figure out how to move forward, that, the world would start to fall into place once my vibe was going in that direction. And that includes finding the one. And I think the biggest part that scared me, and believe it or not, I told older sibling, whatever it is going to be something that is so simple, not necessarily simple, but the idea of it is simple, that it's like, how did I not see it? And it was intimacy. I have not had an intimate relationship in a very long time. I'm pretty sure that whoever I meet up with in my life, the person that is meant to be mine, or the first person that enters the caverns, is probably going to have to bring like a vacuum and a duster and a Swiffer. Oh man, it's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. All right, so I know. I mean, I'm cracking jokes, but it's true. And I'm not ashamed of it. I used to be ashamed of the fact that it's been a very, very long time since, anybody other than myself has laid hands on me. And no, I'm not ashamed to talk about that, because we're humans. All right. We're humans, and we have needs, and, God created people who created things that help us have those needs. So, or your higher powers, whoever it is you believe in, whatever it is you believe in. But my point is intimacy, it scared me, because in my past relationships, the last boyfriend I had and the boyfriends before that, I would tend to disappear because of my trauma. And I didn't mean to. It was something that happened to me. It was a trigger. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh. And I'm going to be a little more open, okay? And I don't want to embarrass anyone. So please know that when I talk about this, I'm okay talking about it. But when I first found the tools for my needs, I found the same thing happened. There was a trigger in there. And I would either just literally fall right asleep in the middle of all these things, or I'd zone out. And so I had to find things to focus, but they were not the things I needed to focus. What I needed to do was heal myself, to show myself that, you know what, we don't need to be ashamed anymore. This was a shadow side of myself. This shadow part of me was ashamed. And it was because I hadn't healed from my trauma. I hadn't healed from the pain of what had been done to me. And so it did affect relationships down the line. And there were times when I was okay, but there were times when I wasn't. And it probably seemed like I was disinterested. And I think that's why I was afraid, because, along the lines of, all these different things, I actually did a perspective on dissociative behavior. And what it said was, if you have this particular trauma, talk to your partner about it, tell them, and then it was kind of a step-by-step for the partner too. How do I walk this person through it? How do I walk them through the intimacy? And what I've noticed is the most important thing is that we'll always hear the words, trust me. Well, when you're groomed, they'll tell you, trust me. And it can be a trigger. But when you feel that person and their caring and their love for you or whatever, their desire for you, and they say, trust me, and they're patient and they're kind and they're compassionate, it's okay to trust them. Use your spidey instincts. Use your discerning capabilities to decide whether or not this is something that you're willing to do. Don't just throw yourself at somebody. You're better than that. You're worth more than that. We all have shadow sides, whether you've had a trauma or not. It's that side of us that I truly believe sometimes tries to keep us safe, but it's where we store all the junk, Think of it as like keeping your inner child in like a storage unit. And you just keep piling shit in there until they're so buried, they are sitting in the corner with their legs to their chest, holding, with their arms wrapped around their legs up to their chest and their face, just buried. Because we keep piling stuff on it instead of healing it. And this stuff may try to burst out and heal. Sometimes that's where, a lot of times I will say, from my opinion, that's where the hurt people hurt people. We're lashing out. It's a cry for help. But most people won't see it. They'll go on the defensive and say, hey, don't be blah, blah, blah. I was lucky that I found somebody that helped me through that. Older sibling, in the early days of me trying to really kind of understand my mental health, she never gave up on me, no matter how mean I could be. And it's hard for me to talk about how mean I can be or could be in those times, because it is a point of shame. It is a point of shame for myself. I'm ashamed of that behavior. But she knew. She had parents that understood her mental health when she was younger. Not all of us had that. Not all of it, mental health back when I was growing up, and even when she was growing up, was not something we talked about. It was something that was swept under the rug. Be stronger. You got this. It's okay. It's a moment. It'll pass. And we... Sorry. Cat sneeze. Bless you, Pixel. So anyways, I know it's getting a little serious, but the reason I'm spending so much time on this self-love lesson is simply based on the fact that, like I said, this is going to be one of the most important lessons that you carry with yourself. You have got to free your inner child. You have got to heal that inner child, especially if it is an inner child of trauma and pain. Emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, maybe when you're older, you might be with somebody who, maybe you had this great life and all of a sudden you end up with someone that turns out to be kind of, and you're ashamed because it's like, oh my God, how did this happen to me? Things happen. People happen. But when we have this self-love, we learn our worth. We learn how important we are to ourselves, to our lives. We learn all these 5 different things, right? The letter to yourself. Write a letter to yourself of encouragement. Somewhere back here on my shelf, I have, my friend gave me this little, oh, here it is. So it's called Letters to My Future Self. And I wrote one, and I actually read it past the other date. But it's just different types of things. My future self, the more experienced me, another more experienced me, another my future self. And I have one in here that I wrote, but I'm not allowed to open it. Well, it says when needed. But it says special handling when needed. So let's see what it says. Maybe now is when it's needed. Okay, so it says, dear Shelley Marie. All right, I'm letting you into my personal thoughts here. All right. Ooh. So I don't know what will be happening when you find the reason to read this, but whatever it is, I want you to know I love you and you are amazing. Every day for so many days, you have worked to get to the person who, at this point, has weathered more storms than many have ever had to. You almost lost yourself a few times, but you hunkered down and battled through. I'm smiling right now. It was 8:37 p.m. on September 29th, because I'm thinking of how far I have come. Sunshine on My Shoulders is also playing, which means you see your strength, and so does Mama. I was really kind of in a bad place, and I just put on my playlist, and my mom was so heavy on my mind, and that song came on, and I really sat down and listened to the words instead of just singing it. And so when I hear that song now on certain occasions, I feel like it's my mom saying, I see you and I'm here. So I think a lot of people, so it says, which means you see your strength and so does Mama. I think a lot of people do, and perhaps we're just catching up now. But on that day that you need to see this, remember a few things. Feel it to heal it. Give yourself compassion, empathy, grace, and some room to take a deep breath. There it is, right there. And that's for everybody. Feel it to heal it. Give yourself some compassion, empathy, grace, and some room to take a deep breath. You deserve that room to take a deep breath. You deserve all those wonderful things. You know, I thought I'd open that a year from now, and here I am opening it just not even a month later, just a couple weeks later. And I'm telling you, this is what it's talking about. When you have recurring themes, recurring emotional triggers, these are things coming up that need to be healed. Early in my healing, I made the mistake of thinking, oh, I've healed it. We don't always necessarily heal it just like that, right? It sometimes keeps coming up because it's little by little you're chipping away at whatever pain or trauma was left by whatever this was. Okay, so emotional reactions. Is it highlighting our insecurities? So like when Sissy would say, just calm down. I think what would make me upset is the fact that, like I said, many times when she's telling me to calm down, she has kind of lit the fuse. And then when it starts to go kaboom, she's kind of like, well, wait a minute. But when older sibling would say it, you can tell it's just like, calm down, take a deep breath. You know, just relax. It wasn't about getting mad. It wasn't about saying, well, I lit the fuse, but damn. You know, and there's nothing against Sissy. Her and I had trauma. We were hurt people, hurting people. We were hurting each other. And we made our peace with that. We made our peace with, you know, all this. We made our peace with, you know, the stuff that she went through, the stuff I went through. And we found a very good footing in our sisterhood, in our relationship. But we never, no matter how many times we, you know, went separate ways, we always migrated back because we knew that that's where the compassion and the empathy lay. And when you have an older sibling, you got someone saying, you two need to talk. So, but that's the difference. Like I said, it could be one phrase and two different people saying it two different ways. And a lot of times it's the tone because you feel like you're being attacked, or you feel like someone's genuinely there to say, hey, I'm here, just breathe. Okay? Identifying patterns. When you can begin to heal them. When you have recurring themes, when you have emotional triggers, when you have emotional reactions to certain things. Number 3 is identifying those patterns, like calm down. Or, you know, maybe intimacy things. This is the stuff that can be recurring. These are the things that can be emotional reactions. And number 3 is where we identify these patterns. And once we identify them, we can start to heal them. That is one of the most important pieces of shadow work. Identifying the pattern or the trigger and, you know, start the process of healing. Then write it down and keep a shadow journal. Write it down. So that way you're like, oh yeah, I remember this happened on whatever day this happened on, and poof. you know. And here's the most important part about shadow work, and I say this with mild trepidation. If you are in a very, very, very dark place, I mean, like you are literally on the precipice of here and there. It's kind of a code, but I don't want to trigger anyone. I highly suggest either seeing a counselor, look one up, or joining a support group, or finding a friend that you truly, truly trust who will just sit there and listen. Make a promise to somebody else to not hurt yourself. Don't make it to yourself, because, you know, I've found when we try to make promises to ourselves, especially when it comes to not hurting ourselves, we break those promises. I made a promise to never step over the edge again, or to never get near the edge, that close to that edge again. But I made that promise to my siblings, my older sibling and younger sibling, both of whom are my soul sisters. I'm an actual only child. And I remember the other night when I was having dinner with some coworkers that I also promised her, one of my former bosses, my favorite former boss, that I would not do that. I would not step over that edge. And because I made that promise, I truly believe that's one of the reasons I'm still here. And I made that promise because I know, even though it is a very personal choice to move in the direction of transitioning to the next life, by choice, it can sometimes be a fleeting moment that we can't take back. We can't always take back. Sometimes we're given that chance, but we can't always take it back. And I know that there are times when I have felt so dark, so low, and I've cried because I made that promise. And it has been as recently as the last 5 days. I admit. And I'm getting emotional, but it has been. It's a struggle. Shadow work is not easy. It is the most painful thing I have ever done in my life. You can tell, because, you know. But it is one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life. And it is one of the most magical experiences I've ever had in my life. And yes, I say those both together because I never thought that I would be in a place where, even though I do have emotional reactions still, or I do have triggers still from time to time, that I could feel this good about myself. That I could truly, truly know that I am on the path of true self-love. I really want to say that I've found it. And I've found it by doing all these self-love lessons with all of you who are watching. Whether you're watching live or you're watching later, or maybe you're just catching up, and maybe you're watching this a year from now going, whoa, the series is wow. You know, and I mean, I really want these things to help people. You know, like I said, I share my story to help other people heal theirs, because I never thought I could be here. And then there are certain communities on Twitter where I found people and I thought, wow, look where they're at. And sometimes I would be jealous, like, wow, I wish I could be there. And then I would start to do the work. And I realized, holy crap, there I am. Here I am. And it was hard. It was very, very hard. And so that's why I say, if you were teetering on the brink, I highly suggest having a buddy, a shadow work buddy, to help you through. You know, someone you can call. Make that promise to somebody else. You know, if you can get into therapy or get into counseling, there are places in different counties that will offer things on a sliding scale or offer it for free. And, you know, sometimes you might get somebody who's young, you know, and you might think, oh, great, how are they going to help me? But you know what? Those are the people that learn. Everybody starts somewhere. And if you're patient with them and you're patient with each other, then you'll have a teammate for the time that you need that teammate. When I finally went to therapy, and I mean, I've graduated, but when I finally went to therapy, I mean, I've told people this that have watched previous perspectives. I was ready to rattle everything off. I was so ready to heal. I was like somebody had shaken up a soda can or a soda bottle and it was ready to just explode. And my first session was like, wow. And eventually I got comfortable enough that I didn't need older sibling with me. She was like one of those safety blankets, like that safety net, But also, I wanted her there because I was so worried that there would be things that I would be too ashamed to talk about. And her and I talked about this before my therapy. I said, if there's something that you think I need to bring up, I need you to tell her. Because there were parts of my subconscious that did not want to remember things. Horrible, horrible things. And even though they were sitting at the front of my brain, I would block it out continually. So, it was the first step in my shadow work. And then last year around this time, maybe around this time, I really started to dive into the shadow work. I really started to read about it and understand it. And that's why in December it became a thing. It became the thing. So I know this was a bit long. I know this was a bit awkward and went in a billion different directions, but that's what shadow work does. It takes you down different roads. It will take you down some scary highways. You're going to feel like you're in the middle of a horror movie. But, I'm not trying to scare you away from doing it. I'm trying to tell you that these are the signs to look out for because it's worth it. It's worth it. It may be hard for you. It may be scary for you, but it is so worth it when you come out the other end. Think of it as being like me, a person who's afraid to walk through haunted houses, right? I don't like walking through haunted houses. I will go in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland and be happy with it, but I like my horror in my TV. But there have been times when I've been coaxed to walk through some of these, horror shit shows, I'll call them, because they just scare the shit out of me. But which is kind of fun because you get that adrenaline going, right? Then you walk out and you're like, I'm never fucking doing that again. In fact, I did that on my 40th birthday. Sissy Joe had convinced me to go through this haunted thing, which probably wasn't even as scary as I made it. I mean, these people are actors, right? But my brain goes to a whole different place. And so all of a sudden, it's the fight for my life. I mean, there was like a 4-foot tall Chucky doll. Okay, like a 4.5-foot tall Chucky doll. And it was just standing there. And the minute it moved, I ran. I screamed and ran. It's like, oh my God, stay away from me. You're not real. I literally said to them, you're not real. It's like just stupid. But the thing is, by the time I got out of there, I was relieved. I was so relieved. And then later, as I thought about it, I was so proud of myself for doing this. I thought, wow, I did that. I'm never doing it again, but I did that. And I can prove that because I went to Universal with baby sibling about a couple years later, and they went through the Walking Dead thing. No, thank you. I like my zombies in my TV as well. I don't need anybody acting to get in my face. So, I know, just silly stuff, right? But but that's what I mean. It's like, that was kind of a silly example, but that's kind of what it is. You will laugh. You will laugh through it sometimes going like, wow, what was I thinking? But as you come through it, you're going to notice your strength. As you come through it, you're going to see the person that you are, and you're going to realize that person was there that whole time, but you just had to trust them. And that is the biggest thing I had to learn about my inner child and myself. And this is one of the breakthroughs I had last night. I need to trust myself more than anything in the rest of this life that I have to live, however long it may be, because I'm the one person I've never trusted. And mostly because of what happened to me as a child. I trusted my parents because they were there for me. They made everything better. They never knew. Nobody ever knew. It was a secret I had to keep on my own as a child. And I had to grow up so much faster than I should have had to. And I see now how it affected me. And I think because I chose not to say anything, because I chose to believe the person that was hurting me, that I learned to not trust my decision making later down the road, to trust my instincts, because they were damaged. But I realized that person is the one to blame, not me. Whoever hurt you in your life, that person is to blame, not you. You know, eventually I had forgiveness, but it was mostly for me to move forward. And like I said, I'm grateful that I had the parents I have, because had it, because they really did keep me from being a statistic. My whole family and my friends, they all kept me from being a statistic. No matter how much I had to hide from the world, no matter how many secrets I had to carry me and be burdened with at such a young age, it has taken me this long to get where I'm at. And I guess it's one of the reasons I also share my story, because I don't want people to take that long, you know. But I also want people my age or older to realize that it's okay. You're never too old to heal. And I don't like the word old, okay? I'm kind of the feeling that you're as old as you feel. And just for the record, I've been saying that since I was 17 years old, because at 17 years old, I was like a crotchety old biddy, because of all that had weighed me down, and because I had to keep it a secret for so long. And people would make comments, God, why do you act like an old lady? Why do you do that? You know, why? And I couldn't say anything. When my parents would ask me, how come you don't have more fun? You know, why don't you go out and, you know, be a teenager? And it's like, I couldn't say anything. I hid a secret, and my secret's out. There are parts of it that I'd still keep a secret, that, you know, no one needs to know but me and those that know. But, or I should say, keep it to myself. But the majority of the trauma is out there, and I share it because I want people to know, no matter what age you are never the wrong age to heal. Any age is the right age to heal. And a lot of that healing starts in the shadow work. The shadow work is where it needs to begin. So, just as an example, I have, this was 3.0 of the floof, Musings of the Domesticated Floof. Now, just so you know, the very first book was The Feral Floof. That's what it was called, The Feral Floof. I named my inner child Floof. I know, it's usually like some furry, cute animal, right? But I named my inner child Floof, and the very first journal I had was The Feral Floof. I believe the next one was Freeing the Feral Floof. Now I'm on journal number 4, sitting here, but it's buried under some stuff. That says liberating the floof. So I've come a long way. 4 journals later, or 4 notebooks later, I was actually using a journal as I chronicle my days towards my next big birthday. But then I realized, when the intimacy issue came up, and my fear of letting down a partner, you know, whoever joins me, you know, in my next phase of my life, I knew that I had to go back to the floof format of just a spiral notebook, you know, $1.30 at your nearest grocery store. But be careful when you buy them at the grocery store, because sometimes they're wide rule, and I tell you, wide rule throws me off. I like college rule. I like more to be able to write in. I don't like a lot of like those big ass lines. I like as many lines as I can get. So it's the writer in me. But anyways, I think I've said enough. I think I've rambled and riffed enough for now, right? So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, 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 wonderful hump day. And take care of yourselves, okay? Please, if you do choose to start your shadow work and you are not sure, or maybe you're on your path of shadow work and you're starting to feel a little sketchy, reach out to someone. Ooh, sorry. I don't even know what that was. Oh, it was my dream stone. And now I have no idea where it went. I think it just fell behind my desk. Yep, there it is. Anyways, please, please, please reach out to someone. There's no shame in reaching out to people. Okay, it is one thing I learned from shadow work is we realize that we do need people. And I am so grateful for the support that I have, my support system. It is fabulous, it is wonderful, and it is amazing. All right. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Facebook Live. We'll be on self-love lesson number 27 of 30. I do not know what tomorrow's lesson is, but really kind of work on today's. Like I said, in my personal opinion, this is going to be the most important lesson if you were struggling on the self-love platform. It is really what's going to help you solidify the foundation of your self-love, home, your foundation of your self-love. All right. So again, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. All Facebook Lives are public. You can find it under Shelly Marie Lucas if you want to join in and have a little chit chat while I talk. Or you can catch it on a replay on YouTube under the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie Lucas. And I do share it to my Facebook page, the Aloha Perspective. And if you follow me on Twitter, then you'll probably see it there. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll get the very, very short version of this. But I think today's short version, I'm just going to refer people back to the link in the bio. So there you go. Again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging in there. I know it went in a lot of different directions, but I think that's a good sign to show you that even when you get to the point where I'm at in my shadow work, we still try to dodge those bullets, right? So just please take care of yourselves, all right? And show yourself some compassion and empathy and give yourself some grace to allow yourself to heal. Have a great day.